Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing 4 chapters of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. We started with Interlude 11, and then read chapters 59, 60, and 61. Wherein, the interlude, we see Eshonai and her sister Venli, and things are getting kind of serious for the Parshendi. Things have taken a turn. And then we get a story to Kaladin from Wit, kind of like last book. We got a story to Kaladin from Wit. Shallan goes has a whole discussion with Pattern about maps and things that they found of the Shattered Plains, and works on her illusion making. And then we get a Shallan flashback where things have taken a bit of a turn in House Devar also. In some ways things have gotten better, and in some ways they've gotten much, much worse. So we'll get there. I'm Data, and with me this week is
Joe
and Jamie.
Dak's still out. He's acting. His enormous acting talent.
Yeah.
But he'll probably be back next week, I think. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So, he'll be around. It's fine. We haven't lost him. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, we jump back up to 4 chapters this time. The interludes are almost like different from chapters in my mind, but I guess they kind of are the same thing. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
The Eshonai one is depressing. I'll just start out. You get every once in a while it brings back up like there's a screaming going on inside, and I just push that away. But yeah, it just gets pretty bleak by the end of it. Also, like, it makes me wonder, because her sister, even before being in this form, had this very, like, kind of almost conniving plan. It just makes me wonder, like, what her sister was like before being in this form. Because I know we got a snippet of it where her sister was like, no, I want to be the one that tries this form first. But, like, at the same time, like, what is going on in her mind that pushes her to that level of, like, I'm planning all of these things, and I know it's kind of icky, but I don't care. I want power. Like, what's driving that? And it may have to do with, like, her research in finding Spren or something. Maybe she was already being influenced by a Spren or by something. Who knows? But yeah, it's a little bit bleak. The Kaladin chapter, he is in prison. Somebody does visit him, so we were right about that.
Yeah, it's true.
We get another story from Hoyd. It is funny that they don't know what bunny rabbits are, and they don't have a word for a baby chicken. That's pretty funny. And that he's playing, I'm assuming, because we know Wit is Hoyd, and I've seen pictures of Hoyd with a lute. I assume that's what he was playing for the story. But yeah, that was a fun little bit. Go back to Shallan, learning how to use powers. That's always fun, getting a little bit more, peeling the layers back more on how these powers work. It's different from Scadrial, where they thought they knew how the powers work, but they just discover new things about them. It's like, yeah, these powers have been gone so long, like, people don't really remember how these powers work. The person who probably would know the most about how they work is Yasna, and she's not here. So it is interesting to kind of, like, see it from the perspective of people who are just kind of feeling it out and trying to figure out what each of these things do. And the other person who knows how at least his own powers work is Seth, but he's not telling. So he's also not around for most of the book. And then the flashback, again, just kind of the depressing slice of life that is Shallan's past. So a little bit of a bummer. It is interesting in the previous chapter, though, that, like, Pattern's saying, you've got to unlock how you did it before. You could do this stuff before. You've shut it away. Like, you've got to stop. And she's like, I don't want to do that. He's like, well, you kind of have to. So it appears that, at least to me, that all of the Spren that we've come into contact with even that one little piece from one of the interludes, like they have a sense that like something's imminently about to happen, which is why they've come out of the cognitive realm back into the world of normal realm, whatever you want to call it. And so it just feels like there's this large large shoe about to drop, or this large guillotine that's about to fall, and we just don't know. I feel like it's kind of taking shape. Obviously, the Parshendi thing with them being able to create a storm like that is terrifying, but I feel like there's got to be something else too, like something bigger. Maybe not, but I feel like there's something bigger on the horizon that's like, maybe not world ending, like not like in the sense of when Scadrial in book 3 of the first era of Mistborn, maybe not to that level, but like something big for sure.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you're right that the powers of the Spren or whatever, they seem to sense that something is coming. So there's a reason that all of a sudden all of these Night Radiant orders are starting to pop up again. And then you've got the guy that we saw in the last episode who's going around trying to shut them down by killing them as they pop up. So,
right.
What does this mean?
There's just too many factions of people doing too many things. And like, we don't know who's in line with who, or if they're all working independently, or, I just feel like there's too many threads to pull at in this story right now, that it's just, it's hard to wrap your mind around what the possibilities of each of these things could be, especially when they've a lot of the convergence. And maybe that's the point of this story. Maybe that's the overarching theme, is like all of these different factions, people, personas, groups. Maybe they all converge with the night Gavilar died. Maybe they were all there that night. It'd be interesting to know if like Taravangian was there for some reason.
Yeah, that would be funny.
But like I feel like a lot of it's converging there. I'm just not sure how it's all interwoven and connected, and I feel like we don't have enough of the puzzle pieces to kind of put that together right now.
Yeah, they keep handing us little pieces of the puzzle, but it's clearly not anywhere near the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel
just like struggling with what we got.
Yeah, I feel like when I talk about knowledge nuggets, it's like these are like 10th nuggets, but like at the same time, it's so overwhelming. It feels like I ordered like 200 McDonald's nuggets, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all these nuggets? I can't eat them. That's too many nuggets.
I also like the point you made about like, this is a very different approach to what we've seen before now in learning the powers, right? Because like you said, in Mistborn, we're introduced almost immediately to here's how the powers work. And what happens as we progress is, we find out there's more to it than they knew at the same time that they're finding out. And in Warbreaker, on the other hand, we don't learn until almost the end of the book how any of the powers really work. We get like little glimpses, but nobody sits down and goes, here's how it works, until like almost the end of the book. And then we reach here, and there's almost nobody who knows how the powers work, and all these people are just getting them, and they're having to learn and figure them out as they go, which is very different from how we've seen it before.
Right. Yeah. Even in Elantris, it's like, well, we knew they had power, and we think it's gone now. Oh, wait, no, it's not gone. It's just the shape of our Earth is messed up, so now the powers are messed up.
Yep. And even then, like, Raoden was fairly good at and learned pretty quickly to like draw the aeons to make the magic. It's just that it wasn't working for a long time.
Right.
And so it's it's still kind of a different thing. And also, like, Raoden's kind of the only person who cared to learn in that book, because everyone's like, the powers don't work. Why are you bothering?
Yeah. Oh god. Wow. I almost said Goncho, but that's not the right word. That's in this book. So there's too much slang. I'm just glad there's no high speak in this. No Scadrial high speak.
Yep. It was a high Imperial, whatever it was. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I got it.
Spook speak. No spook speak in these books. At least not yet.
Yeah, you never know. Somebody's just gonna pop up and be like, "Hey, wasn't to the whatcha," and you're like, "No, why?" It'll be great.
I just remember all our reactions when we first heard that was High Imperial. Oh God, really?
And there were so many emails and stuff beforehand too. It's like, oh man, they hate it so much. I can't wait till they get to the reveal that this is like the old Imperial language or whatever.
So bad. Yeah, these were good chapters. Eshonai and that transformation into storm form and just the sheer volume of people that they're going to transform is terrifying because she knows something's not right, but obviously in that form, it's like, no, I'm just going to block it down, and it's a healthy way to handle how you're feeling about things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty terrifying. And now you've got a whole bunch of them that have escaped, run off. You know, you've got enough people who are like, I don't think this is a good idea, but we'll go along with it, which is very, very scary.
Mm-hmm.
And just the outright lying. It's like, that's not who this character is or was, and what the Stormform is doing is honestly horrendous. So, and we know how much she cared about her mother, and then to put her mother in that situation, I was just like, oh, this is so messed up. I don't know how they're going to get out of that one realistically, but also if you've now got people escaping through the chasms, that could be interesting to see how that unfolds if they meet other people in the chasms. But we'll see what happens when we get there. Kaladin, I liked the story. I like how Brandon writes the storyteller. You know, we've seen Wit in the last book, we've seen Wit in this book. Back in, you just mentioned the book. Oh my God, what's that book we read?
Way of Kings?
The first one, Way of Kings?
No.
We've read lots of
The
books.
one with the
Elantris?
colours. No, the one with the colours. Warbreaker. I was like, Storm Chaser. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Warbreaker, thank you. And how the stories would be told in that. I think Brandon just writes that really well. It's really easy to picture what's happening, and you just kind of get swept up in that moment, which is very, very cool. So that was fun. I'm not really sure where we sit now. Like, Kaladin started in prison. He really didn't like it. He's still in prison. He really didn't like it.
Mm.
Cool. We'll see where he goes. But, you know, a bit of a divide between what he was feeling and what Syl was feeling, which would be interesting to keep watch on as well. Shallan, yeah. We've covered this so many times that I'm like, I love watching them learn their craft and their magic, and definitely a few things in there that Patton had said that was like, oh, okay, yeah, you've done this before. Like, I don't know that she voiced. We haven't seen that, have we? That she's voiced an image, because she definitely used Patton to voice an image.
Yep.
But I
don't think we've seen that, like her making an image that could talk. Yeah.
So, you know, we're obviously going to get more of that story, and I expect it'll probably tie into whatever happened with her dad. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that kind of plays out. We must be getting close to that sort of reveal. I mean, what are we? Sort of almost 3/4 of the way through the Words of Radiance. I'm sure it'll happen at the end. Almost
69% after what we read this time, I think.
Yeah, so we're getting close, and she's only a year and a half ago in terms of her flashback. So we know Daddy Dearest has been gone for a little while, so it can't be too far off finding out what's happened there. And yeah, Shallan's flashbacks, they're always sad. You're just like, this could have been like such a nice family, and they're all so messed up. And even, you know, Shallan's trying to build them up, and it doesn't matter what she does. Her father's there to tear them all down. And to see the transformation for Balat to go from, I'm going to kill all these creatures, to my creatures have been killed and I'm devastated, is really sad, because he's, you know, I still don't think he's like fully all right, but it's good to have seen that growth and like how much Shallan has actually helped there. Yeah, but dad's not a nice person at all. No, like, I think he's becoming what would be like a Strath Venture level. We really don't like you. You are, you know, you're not the villain of our book, but you are not good, and you really do need to go. And I'm already siding with Shallan at this point. Yeah, good chapters. Lots of stuff happening.
It's true.
See what happens next. Yeah.
Well, I like your comparison of Shallan's dad to Strath Venture, because it's like that continues to be our, like, if you need the most disgusting, scummy guy that we've read about, There he is. And yeah, Shallan's dad, there's in some ways, like you get a like more visceral reaction to this guy because he feels more real than Strathventure to me. Like this is the kind of person you could run into who is like this abusive asshole,
Yes.
but has like these real world excuses like, well, you made me do this by disobeying or whatever. Like this, it just feels more real because Strath was almost cartoonishly evil and almost maybe.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point because there are people that exist like this in the world, in our world, and so you can draw some comparison to reality. Strathventure, like I mean, there was a lot of sort of that high fantasy happening with what he was doing and going through, and very extreme situations that he was in. But yeah, this guy, no, should be locked away, my friend. Not my friend. He's not a friend.
Yeah, the one saving grace is that we know Shallan kills him. She told us this.
Yeah.
And he's been dead like since we started reading the books. Like in present day, he's never been alive since we've been reading the books. So
Yep.
that makes it maybe slightly better. Like he's getting what's coming to him.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess Strathventure did eventually get what was coming to him. Also, you just didn't know for sure that was going to happen before it happened.
No, until it happened. Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, I guess let's move into these chapters, y'all. I agree with both of you that this first one is it's kind of deeply disturbing what is happening to Eshonai and like just how different she is and what she does here. But we start with an Eshonai interlude, and there's a weird spren following her, and she's like shooing it away. He's like, horrid thing, get out of here. Why won't it leave me alone? Which is random.
Yeah, and it comes up a couple more times, and it's almost to me like, I don't know. This may be an early predicament. I don't know that I just want to discuss it now because it's been in my brain buzzing around.
Okay.
It almost seems like to me that like Eshonai's normal essence, like her goodness and her normal soul, is like trapped inside that buzzing around spren.
Oh.
And that it's almost like a Dragon Ball-esque Captain Ginyu like change body type situation where it's like her essence was sucked into that spren and whatever was inside the spren got sucked into her body. But
that would be interesting.
Yeah, but it's not like it doesn't seem like she's cognitively aware that that's what took place. But it's like some kind of, it's almost like her inner motivation, like her inner self is gone, but she's still cognitively the same person.
So she has the same memories and stuff. It's
right.
Her personality is way different.
Yeah. So it's almost like a personality body change. That's how it struck me, because when it mentions the spren buzzing around and like hearing screaming and stuff like that, I don't know. That's how it struck me reading it.
I don't know why. That's a funny picture to me of like her part of herself is like buzzing around like, let me back in, give me my body back.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would not blame her for sure if that was happening.
Yeah. Somebody took my body and be like, hey, get out of there. Let me back in there.
And we also find out, I don't know if we knew before, that she's hearing new rhythms. Like not the same old rhythms that everyone else listens to or hears. She has new ones. But apparently the new ones freak people out when she attunes to them. So she's trying to like force herself to use the old ones. But she's like, oh, they're so boring, those old ones. The new ones are exciting. And we see Venli, her sister, has also taken on storm form. So she got her wish. Venli wanted to be the first one. So she got there. And they're in front of the five. And what she wants is for everyone to take storm form. And the five are like, okay, this is moving a little quickly. Like, this is kind of crazy. And Eshonai's like, no, we have to move quickly. We have only 2 high storms before the lull, and our spies report that the humans are going to try to attack us during the lull. So, and I love that one of the 5 is like, man, it's a shame that your meeting with them went so poorly. And she's like, yeah, I mean, they just wanted to talk about how they were going to kill us. So they just wanted to gloat about it. So, what can we do? Lies, Pattern would say. And so Eshonai's like, they're like, we have to be ready to fight them. And Eshonai's like, aren't you listening? We can summon a high storm with this form. Like, we can take them. But we need more. We need way more. And they're like, you already have like 200 storm forms. Isn't that enough? No, not nearly. I need like everybody. And they're like, whoa, that's a little bit extreme. And they're like, "So how does this form feel, Eshonai?" And she has to force herself to like attune to peace and joy. It's like, oh, I feel great. It's terrific.
It's so great. Look how happy I hum.
And then
Look
she
at
like
me happily humming.
does one of those smiles that is like terrifying attempt at a smile from someone who's never smiled before or something. It's like,
Yeah.
isn't it great? And they're like, maybe we should like try it out before we try to make everybody do it. But there's not enough time. There's only 2 high storms left, and they have to have a high storm to transform. It's like, we have to do it. And eventually what the 5 decides is, okay, let's take a minute. Let's think this through. Let's talk about it. We'll reconvene later today and discuss it more. And then Davim, one of them, is like, Eshonai, I want to talk to you alone during that period. And I want to get some information. And she's like, yeah, sure. So the meeting breaks up, and Venli's like, you're not going to convince them. And Eshonai, what Venli does not realize is Eshonai already has a plan. It doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah. I like, and to me is like, I almost thought, was she going into that meeting being like, I already know they're not all going to agree. I'm just going to do this for appearances, and then I'm just going to do what I want.
I think probably. And I think at the beginning of the meeting, she's like, so why did you call this meeting to the others? Like, she had no need to come here and do this.
Yeah. Also, interesting thing that you passed over was that the dull form said we like spoke up when they never talk and was like,
Yep.
Yeah, we shouldn't do this.
I think the dull form is the only one who's just categorically like, no, this is a bad idea. Some of the others are thinking about it, and some of them are into it, but he's the one who's like, nope. So that is interesting. And then we get another interesting little tidbit where Eshonai is like, you knew, to her sisters, like, you knew what taking this form would do to me, didn't you? And her sister's like, I mean, yeah. Which is that's messed up.
Also, like, how did she know? In like the scholarly works, did it explain? Because that's the thing that like my brain's wanting to know is like, Venli, how much did you know? How much do you know? And like, what is it that you know? Like, do you know every single thing about how this transformation works and what it does? If so, like, I want to know that information.
Like, where did it come from that you have this information that no one else does also? So yeah, it's
which is another reason that I was almost like, was she already being influenced by something outside even before this transformation? Is that where she's getting all this information from?
I agree. It's mysterious. We need some Venli flashbacks.
Yeah, or at least some really well written exposition.
Yeah.
When they take another form, is the process the same? Like it's still, you've got to capture a spren, like the right type of spren, and go out into the high storm to transform.
That's the impression we got. Like, they said that the old way you try to attract that spren, but you might end up getting the wrong spren. And so now they figured out how to trap them, and they take the one they want into the high storm so that they always get the form that they want. But yeah, that seems to be, regardless of the form, that seems to be how you do it.
So I wonder if there's still a bit of that, like Eshonai's not knowing what this little spren is that's buzzing around, but I wonder if there's a certain level of that. Like, you think about when they're changing forms, there is bits of their personality that's going to change. So that could be the foundation of Venli's research a little bit. Like, if you were to take on dull form from something else, then there's a little bit of you that's going to be lost. Like, you're still in there, but you're not going to be exactly who you were. What you might not be able to predict with Stormform is just how much it's going to change. It could also be the nature of like trapping the spren rather than attracting a spren, because it's something that kind of didn't happen organically, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I realize we've kind of gone more into predictions there than I was intending. But yeah, like she's got to have some foundation in the research. And I think, Brandon, he tends to base things on things that you can, like, yes, obviously it's fiction, but there's usually something behind it. Like, there's going to have to be a rational explanation as to why this one works differently.
I wonder if it's like an equivalent exchange type of thing where it's like you get a certain amount of power, but you lose, like, you trade off whatever the essence is of you in exchange for that power. And
Yeah.
so dull form, they have the most essence of who they are and what they are and what they could feel down to the fabric of their ancestors in dull form, like what their purpose is as Parshendi and like as they were created, right? Because they have, other than outside of that, they don't have anything like extra. And maybe like as the forms become more powerful, so too does the exchange of like their essence of who they are or what they are.
So there could be like a hierarchy of like forms where they get gradually more powerful, and it makes you like less yourself.
Yeah, maybe that's how it works. Like, because it would kind of make sense, like with scholar form or warrior form. It's like you get these abilities like great mental capability or great warrior ability, but you're not as maybe wise or as, I don't know. You're not as much. You're not as in tune, because it seems like the Parshendi, at least from reading the books, there are people about being in tune with one another, with the maybe even the world itself or the planet or the nature or whatever. Like there are people that are in tune, right? So maybe they lose that attunement, and like she's hearing these other songs in this form, that's the power trade-off. But these other songs that she's attuned to now are so different from the fabric of what the Parshendi are that it's like, it would be like everybody is super attuned to, some sweet, smooth jazz, and then like you literally attune to devil music. Like I that's not a good metaphor, because devil music in and of itself is probably not inherently evil, but you know what I mean. Like there's something different about, obviously there's something different about what they're attuning to, but it's just different, and it's not who the Parshendi are. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely something in that she's hearing these completely new like rhythms that for sure we've I don't know if it's a plateau or if it's like a left turn right turn thing where one way you get normal rhythms and one way you get like bad rhythms or something, but there's definitely something different about it. You're not wrong on that level of it. I kind of like Jamie's thought that there's something different about catching a spren versus attracting one naturally. Like I don't know exactly what the difference would be there, but the idea that like it makes a difference, that's kind of fascinating as a possibility.
Yeah, I do like that too. That's cool.
Okay, sorry. Back to, and Eshonai asked the question that Joe just asked. Like, Venli, how did you get this information? It didn't come from the songs. There's something more going on here. And Venli just does not answer that. And Eshonai's like, okay, fine. Well, we have to, if we're going to survive, we have to beat the humans, which means we all have to be storm form, so let's go. And Venli's like, wait a second. You're planning something, aren't you? How are you going to persuade the five? The answer is she's not. Eshonai walks out and starts yelling to all the people waiting, like, the five are trying to deny you power, but I don't, they don't want you to have this form, but I think that you deserve it. They can't stop you, so come on, let's all, and like, she just makes a rousing speech. And the five are standing right, like, they've just left the meeting with the five, planning to come back and talk about this later, and they're watching her. She just walks down and is like, nah, screw you guys. I'm going to go straight to the people. And she's got a bunch of her soldiers. She's got a large group of soldiers already transformed. But like the guys that were closest to her, she did not choose to transform yet, which is interesting. And so she's going to have what she calls the Storm Division, her Storm transform people, walk around to everybody and be like, are you going to transform? Yes or no? And it's like, if you don't want to, hey, that's your decision. No one's going to force you, but I need to know how many we're going to have. So seems totally fair and logical, just a quick question. And then we move into also all the people who said no, go ahead and move them to a separate spot from everybody else, just so we can see, just so there's no confusion. We'll sort it all out.
As soon as she does that, I'm like, oh no, she go kill those people.
She's not really displaying that nature of being forgiving. It's like, no, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to make a choice. That's cool. I'm going to respect that. Off with their heads. Like she's, why would anyone believe that they would be safe? And clearly they don't, given what happens later.
Yeah, as several of them at least definitely see through what's going on when we get there later. But yeah, so she starts out with just the soldiers. And then she starts sending people like, go through the city and talk to everybody and get a yes or no from everybody. And so, okay. And so they go through, they sort through everybody, and most of the people are on board. She's like, workers will obey. That's their nature. Many of the Nimbles who haven't transformed yet have been acting as like scholars under Venli, and they're all loyal to Venli. So they'll be on board too. The mate forms probably don't care. And the few dull forms would be too numb of brain to object. She's like really looking down on the dull form now, which is not their way either. And so she's basically got the city, and she looks at those, or they've gathered together all the people who don't want to change, and Venli's like, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to kill them. It's a shame. Will your troops do it? And she's like, well, no, not until they've transformed. Some of them might object, so we'll just keep them separated, and then when they transform, we'll kill them all. And I like Venli's like, that's sloppy. I thought you commanded their loyalty. And Eshonai's like, hey, don't question me. I control this city now, not you. So we got a little power play between the sisters too. Kind of cutthroat. And then somebody actually calls out. It's one of the five, Abronai. It's like, this is crazy. The five rule us, not one person. Can't you see this form is like overriding her? You've all lost your minds. And Eshonai's like, yeah, put him with the others. What about the rest of the five? Apparently the rest all agreed. But Venli says, get Zoln, that's the dull form one who said no earlier. It's like, go ahead and get Zoln. Put her with the dissenters. I don't trust her to do what's needed. And the soldier's like, okay, sounds good. And then we've got her old buddy Thude, who was like part of like her closest person, who was like her partner when they were in mate form, it said. And so this is the person who knows her best of probably anybody except maybe her sister. Like, this guy is the closest to her. And he's like, something's not right here. And you know it's not right. Like, all of us soldiers agreed to change. I agreed to change. But what you're doing is not right. And she's like, well, do you disagree that we need new tactics? I mean, we're dying out here. He's like, well, no. Yeah, we do need new tactics, but something's wrong with you, Eshonai. And she's like, no, I've been considering something like this for months. It's just I needed an excuse. And he's like, a coup. You've been thinking about a coup for months. And she's like, no, not a coup. Refocusing.
I know we already know this off the deep end, but like also I while you were reading this part, it just made me go back and think about when she's talking to the five. We're like, yeah, it's a pity that meeting didn't go well. And she's like, oh, yeah, the humans they just wanted to boast about destroying us. And I was like, wait, what? That's not how that meeting happened at all. Were we at the same meeting, Eshonai? No, that was a bold-faced lie.
Yeah. Yeah. And she thinks that she hasn't quite convinced this guy about the end of their conversation, although he's pretending that she has. And he's like, okay, but what about those people that you've like sectioned off on their own, the ones who didn't agree? You realize your mom is one of those, right? And she's like, huh, so she is. And she says, you know what? Take you and some soldiers you trust. I'm going to put you in charge of guarding them so you know nothing bad will be done to them unless, like, nothing will happen to them that you don't agree with. Okay? And he's like, huh, all right. And she thinks, poor trusting Thude. Thank you for rounding yourself up so neatly. And then as Venli and Eshonai are discussing, make sure that we've got enough spren for everybody to transform, somebody shows up and it's like, General, they've escaped. Who? The ones that you set apart. The ones who didn't want to transform. They've fled. It's like, well, then chase them down. They can't have gone far. And it turns out they climbed down into the chasm. And Eshonai's like, oh, well, if they go down the chasm, they're dead anyway, so who cares? Like, there's a storm in 2 days. They're not going to get out. We're in like the center of the plains. They can't escape in the chasms in 2 days. They're dead. Who cares? And then Venli's over here attuning to spite capital. So that's one of the new rhythms is spite. We also learned the rhythm of destruction.
And I think fury as well.
The new rhythms don't sound real nice.
No. It's like,
they're really happy rhythms.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's not none of this isn't happy music they're humming.
And Venli's like, why weren't they being guarded? And the guy's like, oh, the guards went with them. It's like, oh, okay. And then Venli's like, wait a second, you weren't surprised. What did you do? Who are these guards who are willing to help the prisoners escape? And then we get also the rhythm of derision, where Eshonai's like, yeah, whatever. Eshonai has to say, don't challenge me. And Venli's like, what are you going to do, kill me in public? They'll never follow a woman who murdered her own sister in public. And only I can give you the spren you need. And Eshonai's like, whatever, I'm going to go make my speech. And that's the end of that interlude. So they've both become very unpleasant people. I don't know if Venli was super pleasant before, but
real uplifting stuff, this interlude.
And then, I mean, we start with that, and we end with like the flashback of Shallan's family life. So it's not a big up reading section this time.
Yeah, it's a real Empire Strikes Back ending. This part.
Yeah. Our first chapter is called Fleet, and the epigraph says, "I'll address this letter to my old friend, as I have no idea what name you're currently using." So we're getting a piece of a letter, since it says I'll address this letter to.
It's got to be a response letter from the previous letter that we saw in the epigraphs. Think? Oh, 100%. Because this guy, I think we nailed down that the previous epigraph letter was from Hoid, and this has got to be going back to Hoid.
He does use a lot of different names, I think, in different situations. So maybe that makes sense here. Yeah. Okay. So Kaladin has never been in prison before. He's been in cages and pits and pens and under guard in a room, but not in prison. And it's actually not a bad place. He's got 2 blankets and a pillow, and the chamber pot gets changed regularly. He's fed way better than when he was a slave, but it's still prison, so he's not happy.
Nice to have 2 blankets, though.
Yeah, right?
Comfy.
On the 3rd day, he heard a disturbance outside somewhere else in the prison, but he never finds out what it was. I like that Syl is in here, like, sitting on a bench, on an invisible bench on the wall while he's sitting on his bed. She's just copying him. And there's some sphere light, like there's a lantern with spheres in it. He's like, I wonder if I could get some of that, like suck in some of that storm light. And she's like, okay, well, what would you do then? And he's like, good question. Would you help me break out if I wanted to? And she's like, I don't know. Do you want to? And he's like, I'm not sure. I might need to, but it would be against the law. And she goes, I'm no high spren. Laws don't matter. What's right matters. But why would you want to break out now? You came in here willingly. And he's like, well, I'm not going to let them execute me. And she's like, oh, they're not going to do that. You heard what Dalinar said. And he's like, Dalinar, let this happen. He's as bad as the rest of them. And she's like, no, say that again. Okay, fine. He's not that bad. But the king is. And so he's very, very unhappy about what's happened to him. And Syl is not happy with the attitude that he has right now. And Kaladin is like, Moash and his friends are right. The kingdom would be better off without Elhokar. And Syl's like, ooh, this is not good. And later, after the disturbance, after he's had some food and stuff, Wit pops up. Nice place you have here, Bridge Boy. And like Kaladin's like,
are you serious? You're calling me Bridge Boy now? What the?
I know, how rude, right? Taking after Adolin. I love Kaladin's question is, how did you get in? And he goes, well, there's these things called doors. The guards let you in? Technically, yes. All right.
As in, they let me get past them because I didn't let them stop me.
And he's holding a strange instrument made of taut strings and polished wood, which sounds like a guitar? I don't know.
Yeah, guitar or a lute.
A lute, sure. I mean, technically, you could probably even describe a harp that way, depending on what the harp is made of. So who knows exactly, but
yeah. Have to be a pretty small harp, like a lyre.
Yeah. And Wit is humming to himself, and then he goes, perfect pitch makes this all so much easier than it once was. Which basically, I think, confirms for us that he has a bunch of breath also, because that's how you get perfect pitch.
Yep.
So,
checks out.
Yeah. So that's like a thing that I've like. How does the other powers work on the other? I guess that doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, how might breath or something work here is a fair question, if it works at all. And so Kaladin's like, well, are you gonna play me some music? And he goes, no, you wouldn't appreciate it. Then why are you here? I like visiting people in prison. I can say whatever they want. I want to them, and they can't do anything about it. And so he says, I've come for a story, the one that you are going to tell me. And Kaladin's like, I'm so not in the mood for your crap. And Kaladin eventually is like, look, if I play along, will you go away? And he says, yeah, I'll leave as soon as the story is done. It's like, fine. A man went to jail. He hated it there. The end. And Wit responds, a story? Oh, so it's a story about a child then. And Kaladin goes, no, it's about... I see what you did. Perhaps a story for a child? I'll tell you when to get you in the mood. A bunny rabbit and a chick went frolicking in the grass together, and Colin's like, wait, a chick? Baby chicken? And a what? And then we get one of my favorite lines of the whole series where it's like, all right, I forgot. Sorry. Let me fix that for you. A piece of wet slime and a disgusting crab thing with 17 legs slunk across the rocks together on an insufferably rainy day. Is that better?
It's so true.
It's so... and Calvin goes, I mean, yeah, I guess. He's like, I can picture this much better.
It makes more sense to me now.
Oh, man.
You imagine like a crab bunny? It's terrifying.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a little bit. Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Does it hop? Because, yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, it's just basically a crab with long ears and it hops.
No, I don't need a hopping crab. It's fine.
Yeah.
So eventually he starts to play a little bit, and the rhythm, it says, got inside of Kaladin. And what makes him close his eyes, he's like, what do you see? And then he's like, oh, this guy's supposed to be Sigzil's mentor. Shouldn't I get, like, some slack for helping his apprentice out? Okay, fine. I'll think about it. What do I see? And he says, a race. And so I won't go in really beat by beat here, but Kaladin creates this story with Wit's help, where he starts out with simple, like, it's a song of a man running. And then Wit, like, puts some context into it and makes it like a song or a story. And we get a song or a story about Fleet, the fastest guy ever. He raced the Herald Shanarok and won. And as the story progresses, he decides he's going to race the High Storm from one end of the continent to the other.
You know, as you do.
As you do, exactly. And so it's kind of a fun little story about Fleet starts out doing well, has to climb some mountains, loses some track, and then eventually Kaladin starts, like, it's kind of gets into it for a while, and then Kaladin eventually gets kind of annoyed. He's like, whatever, enough of this. And he's like, he died. He didn't make it. The end. And I like that makes Wit stop. He's like, oh, so you do know the story. And Kaladin's like, wait, what? No, I thought you were making it up. And Wit says, no, you were making it up. Okay, well, then what is there to know? And he says, well, all stories have been told before. The only things that change are the names. And Kaladin says, so Fleet, was he real? And Wit says, well, as real as I am. Which, that's an interesting response to that. I'm like, how real are you, Wit?
Just because it's inside your head, why should that mean it's not real?
And so the story ends with, yes, Fleet died, but, like, before he made it to the end, just short of the end, and the storm stops when it gets to him, and then his spirit, like, rises up and runs forever with the storm. And Kaladin's like, what does it mean? He's like, I don't know, it's your story, you decide. But you already knew it. And he's like, well, I know most stories, but I'd never sung this one before. What does it mean, Kaladin of Bridge 4, Kaladin storm blessed? And Kaladin says, the storm caught him. And Wit's like, yeah, but the storm catches everyone eventually. Does it matter? And he says, I don't know. And Wit says, good, then you have something to think about. And he leaves, and the chapter ends.
Called him by all his names. Bridge Boy, Kaladin, Bridge 4, Kaladin Stormblessed.
Yeah.
It's a lot of names that he knows. It's impressive.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think Hoyd knows all the stuff.
And I don't know. This is now our second Hoyd story in Stormlight. We had the story of the Wander Sail last time, and now we have Fleet. Which one do you guys like better?
This one was definitely shorter, which was nice. No, I'm just kidding. I think the Fleet one's kind of interesting.
I mean, they're both pretty different.
It's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I like the way that Hoyd or Wit told the story last time, the Wander Sail.
Oh, with the smoke and stuff?
Like I think the image was cooler.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah. But both stories are good. I would have a whole book of Hoyd telling stories.
I can see that. I mean, he told one in, like, Warbreaker too, with, like, sand and leaves from his pockets and stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was really cool. Yeah,
they should. Brandon should do like a little book of short stories, but they're all like Cosmere stories and they're told by Hoyd.
Yeah, I think he's talked about these stories, these two stories maybe, or maybe it was other ones, were like doing like an illustrated storybook of like some Hoyd stories or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too.
In between our chapters, we get a little map, kind of. It says a mosaic reproduction of a mosaic, purportedly illustrating the city of Stormseat. So it's a little city. There's a tower or something in the middle, and then some houses, a big circly thing. I don't know. It's an interesting little thing. Chapter 60 is Vale Walks. And here the epigraph is, have you given up on the gemstone now that it's dead? And do you no longer hide behind the name of your old master? I am told that in your current incarnation, you've taken a name that references what you presume to be one of your virtues.
Yeah. So that was like the thing where I was like, wit.
Yeah,
is
right.
If wit is a virtue. Also, your old master. So like if he was going around being called Hoyd, and Hoyd's not actually his name, it's the name of his master. That's something we didn't know before.
Yeah, if that's the name that's being referenced, that's a good point. Also, we find out that there's some gemstone that is dead, whatever that means. That
yeah. Gemstone, dead gemstone that he was after.
I guess so. Yeah. Who knows what that bit's about?
Yeah. I mean, if it's because we don't know if the shards are actually shards of gems, right? It's not like materia hanging out.
Yeah, I think the one time we've like seen it, like the power of a shard for somebody to pick up, it was like Sazed comes out and grabs like two glowy balls of energy hanging there or something, I think.
Yeah. Well, maybe the glowy balls of energy had a little shard in them. I don't know. Because I mean, if you think about it that way, Addie's body was a crystal or a metal. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. It was. It took me a second to think of what you meant, but yeah, no, you're right.
Who knows?
Who knows indeed.
Brandon, I guess.
Shallan is hanging out in her bed, her big fluffy bed, and she's messing around with some papers. There's stacks of papers on her bed, on the floor, all over the place. And she's like, oh, here's this map that I copied from Amaram's wall. And then she thinks, bastard, to herself. Like, she is not a fan of Amaram. Something that she and Kaladin have in common. Although it's because she doesn't know that Kaladin murdered her brother, but whatever.
As far as we know.
Yeah, right. That's what we've been led to believe at this point anyway. Shallan's like, I've discovered a pattern in this map. And Pattern's like, no, there's no pattern there. Like, no, look, right here. Natanatin was one of the Epoch kingdoms, organized by the heralds themselves for divine purpose, blah, blah, blah. But look, the capital of Natanatin, Stormseat, if you compare it to this other map, it's right about... And Pattern's like, well, they would be over here in the Unclaimed Hills. And she's like, no, you gotta use some imagination. The old map is wildly inaccurate. Stormseat was here on the Shattered Plains. And Pattern goes, that's not what the map shows. And she's just close enough. And he's like, that is not a pattern. Humans, you do not understand patterns. Like, pissing him off. And he starts on this whole thing about like usually you go to sleep at this time of night. Why are you not sleeping? But eventually she's like, no more complaints. Tonight I am doing scholarship. And he's like, didn't Yasna use a desk when she was doing scholarship? Desks are for boring people and for people who don't have a squishy bed. I love that. That's great.
It gave me flashbacks to being in high school where like we had a perfectly adequate study that I could go into, but I would lay on my stomach on the floor with my books in like this semicircle around me. And I was so happy. And it just worked for me. I'm with you, Shallan.
She'd slipped a piece of paper into the reports that she sent to Polona. And that piece of paper says, among Yasna's notes, there was something indicating that there's something valuable hidden out there. We'll keep you informed of my discoveries. So she's setting up an alternate possible way to get out on the plains if Adolin can't like make good on his promises.
She's always scheming, that Shallan.
She is. She's sneaky. Navani still won't meet with her, which is that's unfortunate. But it is what it is. And she thinks maybe Navani blames me for like how the duel went. But yeah. Also, she's worried about her brothers who haven't responded to her letters to like leave Yakoved and come here. So
pretty sure everybody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody blames Kaladin for how the duel went.
It seems that way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you guys predicted correctly and Adolin comes to visit him at some point, we'll see Adolin's perspective on it.
I think his perspective was pretty clear in the chapter when he facepalmed. Like
he did. That's true. Yep.
He's like, oh God.
And then Shallan says something, and Pattern's like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm guessing that that's supposed to be humorous, though I don't know why. It was not a joke. I know jokes. A soldier came running into camp after going to see the prostitutes. His friends asked him if he had a good time. He said that he had not. They asked why. He said that when he'd asked how much the woman charged, she said 1 mark plus the tip. He didn't realize they were charging body parts now. And Shallan's like, oh my god. You heard that from Vathos men, didn't you? It's like, yes, it's funny because the word tip means several different things. Pattern learning jokes.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
It means several different things.
And he continues to explain. It's like sarcasm is similar. You replace an expected result with a grossly unexpected one, and the humor is in the juxtaposition. Like I love Pattern explaining how he's learned comedy.
Yeah, it reminds me of watching Next Generation and Data talking about comedy.
I don't know that Data had a joke like that one, but he did have the episode where he learned from like a comedian on the holodeck, and it was like such dated like 1960s humor or something.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Scholars reject the idea that Stormseat was on the plains. They say the craters of the war camps don't match the description of the city, and think the ruins are hidden in the highlands. But it could have been in the middle of the plains, and the craters could be something else. So Amaram seems to agree with Yasna that the ancient city of Stormseat would have had a path to Urithiru. 10 of them had once connected to 10 capitals of the Epoch kingdoms to Urithiru, which had some kind of conference room for all the monarchs and a throne for each of them. So that's why none of the maps put the city in the same location. You didn't walk there, you just went to the nearest city with an oath gate and used that to get there. Interesting possibility.
Yeah. Again, I'm like, do they have teleportation here? Is this a perpendicularity going to the cognitive realm? Like, what is this?
And then Shallan's like, why does he wants to return the Voidbringers, not fight them? Why? Like, I don't understand what Amaram is after, which is what we've been saying for a while now. The Shattered Plains haven't always been shattered. That's what the scholars, all but Yasna, are missing. The city was broken like a piece of fine dinnerware with a hammer. And this is where Pattern's like, I know you've forgotten a lot of stuff, but you can't keep going like this. You have to admit the truth about me, about what I can do and what we have done. You must know more about yourself and remember. And it says that she sat cross-legged. Memories tried to claw their way out of the boxes inside her head. Those memories all pointed one way, toward carpet bloodied and carpet not. And he's like, come on, you want to help? We have to prepare for the Everstorm. You must become something grander. And she's like, what, do you want me to be unable to laugh? Would you have me crippled? That's what those memories would do to me, and that's why I cut them off. Which, okay, there's a lot going on here that we're not privy to, apparently. And he's like, okay, such a deep lie. But you must obtain your abilities. Learn again if you have to. So she already knew how to use abilities, is what he seems to be indicating. And if she won't remember, then she has to relearn. And she's like, I mean, if we did this before, can't you just tell me? And he's like, I was dumb for so long, nearly dead. I could not speak. And so she starts working on how to use this surge of illumination. She even tries to draw sounds, but that it doesn't do what she's trying to do. And then there's a moment where Pattern is sarcastic by accident, and he's very excited about it.
I did do that thing, didn't I? Look at me.
I did a sarcasm. Haha.
It's cute.
It is. And she comes up with an idea, like, can you hold Stormlight, Pattern? And he's like, investiture is the means by which and then she just like touches him and shoves some Stormlight in there.
I know I just asked you, but I'm just going to do it now. Sorry. Hope this doesn't kill you.
Yeah, right. And so she has a new thought, like, okay, I'm going to try to like attach this image to you, basically. Like, I'm going to walk away. You stay near the image and use the Stormlight I've just stuck in you to like feed it. And it works. If she gets too far away from the images with her Stormlight, they fade. But if she leaves Pattern there, they can stay. And then she gets a new idea. Like, okay, she like tries to attach it to him, and she's like, walk around. And he's like, I don't walk. She's like, you know what I mean, just go. And he moves, and the image moves with him. It doesn't walk, it just kind of glides because it's like a still image. But we're making progress. Is there a way I can get it to move more naturally? And so she starts drawing, and that's the end of that chapter. So there's nothing that really like happens in that chapter, but there's some interesting little things sprinkled in. And then our last chapter is Obedience. This is 1.5 years ago. So since the last time we saw her, Shallan has become the perfect daughter. She keeps quiet in father's presence, spends most of the days in her room, sitting by the window, reading the same books over and over. He's proven several times that he will not touch her if she angers him. Instead, he will beat others in her name.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
I just imagine he's like beating somebody. He's be like, take this, Shallan.
Blame Shallan for this.
Yeah.
Shallan did this.
Take this, prune face.
Take this prune, Tracy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, she can't really do anything. Sometimes when she's with her brothers, she can put down the mask and, like, make them laugh, but she just has to try to be perfect so that these things don't happen. Also, Father's fortunes have begun to change. New marble deposits are being discovered, providing them with money for bribes and deals.
Found the thing.
Surely that would make him start laughing again. Surely that would drive the darkness from his eyes. It did not.
That's not how it works, Shallan.
Yeah.
So, guessing he's got the Fabrial now.
I mean, he must, yeah. That's how they were creating the marble deposits, we were told, so yeah. And we cut to Father telling Balat that that girl is too low for you to marry. You will break off contact with her. And he's like, but Father, they're your vassals. Like, you've invited them to dine with us. So, my axe hounds dine at my feet. I do not allow my sons to court them. He wants his now firstborn son, because Helaran doesn't exist anymore, according to him. He says, you should court, like, the High Prince's daughter. And Balat's like, she's in her 50s, dude.
And she's a widow. That's messed up.
And his dad's just like, well, she's single. Yeah, because her husband died in a duel.
Can you imagine? That's what I expect of my son. Marry a 50-year-old widow.
Yeah. And besides, the High Prince would never agree. And his father's like, no, his perception of us will change. We're wealthy now. And Balat's like, yeah, but we're still a family headed by a murderer. And Shallan's like, shit, that was too far. You can't say shit like that. And it turns out that the punishing others and not you directly extends beyond just Shallan at times, because the dad's like so mad about this that he gets that new anger, the cold anger. And he's like, your new Axehound pups. Terrible, but that they caught a sickness during the latest tide storm. It's unfortunate that they all need to be put down. And gestures to one of the new guards. Which, damn, that's messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the look of an Axehound from the pictures I've seen, but killing an animal's not cool ever.
Yeah. I mean, they're babies, too. It's not cool.
Yeah, baby animals. Yeah.
And Balat's like, you bastard, Isle. And his dad's like, you'll what? Huh? Go ahead. Say it. You can challenge me? Don't think I wouldn't kill you. Wickham may be pathetic, but he'll serve just as well for our house's needs. Damn, bro. That's... He really has gotten even colder than before.
Yep.
And I love Balat is like, what can I say to retort to this? Hey, Helaran is back. I saw him 2 days ago. And his dad's like, you never speak that name in this house. I mean it. And we also we see Luesh here, the new guy that he has working, the new steward, the guy that we know is the one who used the Soulcaster and who was apparently a ghost blood because they saw like he wore a necklace or something with the symbol on it. He dies later, but he's around now. So yeah, the guard went out and killed all of the whole pod of pups. They're lying in violet blood.
Side note, did it say how they found Helaran dead? Like, was there a wound mark? Oh, sorry, yes, Luesh dead. Was there a wound mark of any kind? Okay, I was wondering if he got like a dart to the neck or something.
Ooh, that would be interesting. And Shallan says that Balat is making progress with his demons. He rarely hurts anything larger than a Kremling now. And she actually encouraged him to breed these to, like, you know, develop his, like, compassion for them or something. And Balat's like, there's pain spren cluttered around Balat as he looks down at the dead pups. And he's like, Father's guards, it's like they were waiting to do something like this. I don't like this new group. And Balat says maybe Helaran had it right. Maybe the only way that we can win is to leave. You spend every day locked up. Jushu's gone back to gambling. Wickham talks about becoming an Ardent, but I don't think Father would ever let him. He's insurance. And so Balat wants to leave with Aelita, his girlfriend. I mean, even if I have to like work as a house guard or something to get by, isn't that better than this? Would you come with us? And she's like, no, I have to stay. Something awful has a hold of Father. If we leave, we give him to it. Someone has to help him. And he's like, how can you defend him? You know what he did. And no, he didn't do it. And Balat says, you've told me you don't remember. You saw him kill her, but you just don't want to admit that you witnessed it. You're as broken as the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you been?
Where have you been? Exactly. And she's like, well, I mean, would you take our brothers with you? And he's like, no, I couldn't afford that. And she's like, well, I can't leave, not if we're leaving them behind. And then she overhears her dad telling one of the guards, Nan Balat claims to have met him in the city. Go find him. Bring me his head. I want to see it with my own eyes. Surprise him before he can summon the shard blade, and the weapon will be yours in payment as long as you serve House Devar. So he's arranging to have his son murdered, and his new wife overhears. And she's like, what the hell, dude? Your own son? You have no morals at all? I believed your story about the woman before me. I've supported you. I've lived with this cloud over the house. And now this? You're going to kill your own son. And then apparently, like, Shallan locks herself in a room and she can hear an argument going on between her dad and her stepmom. And she's like putting a pillow over her head to keep out the sound of what's happening. And then she hears her dad storm out, why will nobody in this house obey? This wouldn't happen if you all just obeyed.
All right, jerk face.
So yeah, who knows what happened in there? Her stepmom might not be okay, given what we know of her dad.
Father and husband of the year over there.
Yeah, for sure. But that brings us to the end of our section, guys. Let's move into predicaments. Where are we going? What's going to happen? I need to tell you guys the chapters we're reading, huh? We are going to do 5 chapters for next time. 62 through 66. 62 is The One Who Killed Promises. 63 is
Okay.
A Burning World. 64 is Treasures. 65 is The One Who Deserves It. And 66 is Storm Blessings. So there you go.
None of these sound great.
Treasures sounds kind of good.
I mean, I guess. What was the first one again?
The first one is The One Who Killed Promises.
The One Who Killed Promises. I mean, maybe it's Kaladin and Dalinar again. You know, he promises in Kaladin's eyes that weren't fulfilled. Not sure on that one. And then the next one was
A Burning World.
A Burning World. Yeah. See, that just sounds terrible. Don't know what it could be about. Maybe some kind of way that Shallan sees the world around her at this point, or like if she's having to remember whatever it was she did way back when, or whatever happened way back when. That would be unpleasant.
It would. You're not wrong.
And then treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after the Burning World, she finds treasure in power, her magic-y powers. And then what was the next one?
The One Who Deserves It.
The One Who Deserves It is Amaram. That guy deserves it.
Whatever it is, that guy deserves it.
Whatever it is. Amaram or Sadeas, equally. Amaram or Sadeas deserve it. Whatever that thing may be.
I'm sure it's something really good, actually. It's like lots of treasure.
Yeah, treasure.
The treasure from the previous chapter, and this is who deserves it. Yeah.
It's the one who deserves it. Sure. Was that the last one?
The last one is Storm Blessings.
Storm Blessings. I mean, it's got to be by Kaladin, right?
It certainly
Kaladin
sounds that
Stormblessed.
way. Yeah.
So maybe he's out of prison by then. He's riding around in the sky, and he's super, super jazzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow.
He can't read. So yeah,
That's true. He can't read. That is unfortunate. God, man, he'll never know the magic that was Reading Rainbow. Yeah. As for where we're going overall, like I said, I think I outlined pretty well at the beginning that like there's just too many threads to pull on here. There's going to be some kind of climax, I'm sure. Just don't know what it is yet. It hasn't happened. So, we'll see, I guess. I don't know. That's really all I got this week. I know that's not much. I apologize, but I said, too many threads.
Too many strands in the old duder's head.
Yeah. Stay away from my special lady friend.
No, it's not his special lady. It's his.
Right. He doesn't know what. He has no idea.
It's like, she's not my special lady. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? That's been the truth of our reading since the beginning. So fair enough. No big predicaments to make this time. It happens. We've got the guess about who the one that deserves it is. So thanks, Joe. What do you got, Jamie?
Well, I definitely think Joe's onto something with that there'll be a climax in the book, and we don't know what it is yet. So
good call. Yeah. Sure.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Joe. All jokes aside, I also don't have a hell of a lot this week. What I hope will happen is that the Pashendi who have managed to, for the time being, get away through the chasms, I sort of hope they find a way to like reach out to Dalinar, whether they know that those conversations have been happening or whether that's all happening at a higher level. Maybe Shen is part of that group or something, like to find their way back to Kaladin and sort of explain what's going on. Because realistically, any attempt that like Dalinar and the armies make against the Parshendi is not going to go well for them. Like they're walking into something that like they already don't know enough about the Parshendi culture.
Mm.
On top of that, to have them all in storm form, that's not going to end well, and creating extra high storms and all that sort of stuff. So I'm kind of hoping that we find finally something that can kind of align Parshendi and Dalinar, because Dalinar and Gavilar were particularly interested in figuring out how they all worked and trying to have peace talks and things like that. I don't want them walking into that. That'll be insane, especially if their armies like are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to refound the Knights Radiant and stuff, but I don't know how Dalinar thinks he's going to do that, because it's not really something that he can control. You've got a whole bunch of people who are going to come out of the woodwork that have these abilities, but to find them and then harness that into something productive in such a short period of time, I don't see them pulling that off. But often lots of really bad things happen to characters we love. So, maybe they have to go through a bad time to come into a better time. Dalinar's army has been so pummeled.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see that going well, even for like the best trained soldiers and things like that. Regarding the titles of the chapters, I've got no idea.
That's fair. And there were a lot of them this time. It's hard to keep up. I get it.
Yeah.
The big thing I feel like is, you're right, that like they're going out, they think they know what they're walking into, trying to find the Parshendi out there. There is basically no way for them to know about this stormform thing, and certainly no way for them to ever anticipate that the Parshendi could make a high storm show up or something, right? Like that's not something anyone's ever heard of. So not only are they not prepared, it would be impossible, as far as we know, for them to get prepared, because they don't know, and there's no way for them to find out what they're going to run into until they run into it.
Exactly.
So it's bad. So yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head that this is a very dangerous, and Dalinar's army isn't looking great in the first place. He's trying to get the other high princes to go along. Do we think that he'll actually get any other high princes on board, sending an army out there? I think, Jamie, wasn't you who theorized that maybe Sadeas would end up going?
Look, it could be words that I'd said, but I don't remember that.
Okay.
If Sadeas went, I feel like it would be to watch it all unfold. Like, I don't think he would actually be any help out there. I can't imagine at this point, particularly with everything that's going on with Adolin and the jewels and all that sort of stuff, I can't imagine people sticking their neck out there for something Dalinar wants to do. There's a few that might be aligned, but something pretty huge, I think, would have to happen that would actually have an impact on the other armies for them to act. So, potentially summoning this unplanned high storm. We've heard so many times in the weeping or the lull that there's no high storm, and everyone knows what to expect in that time, that their guard will be down. So, maybe that does need to happen. Maybe they need to summon a high storm just to keep the armies and everyone else like on their toes. Go, this is not normal. But yeah, at this point, I can't imagine any of the other armies actually coming to aid.
Okay.
You might get Sabariel, but he's not a high prince, is he? He's just...
No, Sabariel is one of the high princes, yeah.
He's a high prince, yeah? Okay. You might get him purely because of the link with Shallan and Adolin, but yeah, it's a might.
Okay, fair enough. Well, all right then. No big predictions for anybody today. Maybe we truly need Dak to make crazy volcano predictions. He's the only one deep down capable of going full volcano.
He's the predicament glue that we need.
But let me see if we have anything else we need to go over before we wrap up. We had the one email I was holding from last time, but I think I've got a couple more that have come in since then. So hold on. We don't have any new patrons. I didn't see a new review, so I think we just got a couple emails we can do. This one is from Hadar, or Hadar, sorry. It says Cinematicness. Hey y'all, Hadar here, and I'm currently speed running through y'all's cast for the first time. Longtime Sanderson fan, up to date on the Cosmere and waiting for Wind and Truth, decided to use y'all as a good way to recap various stories. I know you aren't up to the new book yet, but I'm looking forward to y'all digging into Stormlight. I'm currently on episode 99 of the cast, Alloy of Law, and you've mentioned repeatedly about the cinematic qualities, which I wholeheartedly agree with. But that, without the context of Era 1, it would be tough. I think the best would be doing both movies and series of his works and interconnect them. Part mainline Marvel movies, part WandaVision. I also don't think it all needs to be live action. Animation, either in anime style or similar to Netflix's Dracula, would be sick. Catching up fast as I can, from Hadar. Has anybody watched Dracula?
No. Wait, the Netflix Dracula?
Yeah.
I watched the first episode, but it was too... I'll be honest. I'm not into gore. Like, stuff that's too gory for me, I'm just like, nah, I'm just not going to watch this. So Dracula, after first episode, I stopped watching. And then, like, The Boys, I watched through the whole first season. I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. It's too much.
That was my thing with The Boys also. It's a little over the top for me. And I'm like, I don't need this, honestly. Like, I see why people like it. Stories are interesting, but this is like, I don't want to be grossed out, which is funny because like Harley Quinn will do some very gross things in that cartoon also, but I love it.
Oh, it's animated though. I think there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like your brain, in the back of your brain knows like, oh, that's a cartoon. And
That's
yes, like, it's a live action show and the gore looks ridiculous, but at the same time it's like, well, that was a person walking and talking, like an actor walking and talking. Like, I don't know. In my head there's like a disconnect there.
Also, Peacemaker can get kind of gory, but I really enjoyed Peacemaker. So
I don't watch that.
I don't know what it is about what it was about The Boys specifically that I'm just like, this is too much for me. And maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Which is a shame because I really like the Billy Butcher character. Like, he's probably one of my favorite characters that I've watched
Carl
in a
Urban
show.
does it so well.
Yeah, he's just an amazing actor. But it's a shame because I like him so much. But I'm like, nah, I don't want to watch this.
Did y'all watch The Boys, Jamie?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you watch Dracula or any of that?
Also nope.
No. Okay. I will say, in more direct reference to his email, I would argue, just based on the way the industry is heading, and the success rate of the industry, I think that books, if you're going to do them justice, need to be in a series format. I don't think we want to interweave show and film. I think Marvel is like the only one who can do that properly, because comics...
I mean, Star Wars is doing it too.
Yeah, I don't know that Star Wars does it super successfully, though. That's not to say their series aren't good. I really like their series.
They're kind of hit and miss, but you know.
Yeah, but like, they're not interwoven into the films that well.
That's true too. Yeah.
There's a disconnect between like watching The Mandalorian and watching, you know, Rogue One or Star Wars Episode, you know, 7. There's a disconnect.
Like, Rogue One and Andor are close. I didn't watch Andor, but I hear that
I've only watched
right?
Yeah, I've only watched the first like couple episodes of Andor. I never finished it, but yes, those are close due to the fact that they have one of the same main characters in it. But I would argue the only reason that Marvel is somewhat more successful, and this is my, you know, everything I'm saying obviously is my opinion. I'm not an insider. I don't know what's what. But my opinion is, because comics lend themselves to being kind of like, you're dropped into a slice of a story anyway.
It's true.
Like, that's what comic people expect out of comics. Like, it doesn't have to be super serialized. The fact that we got a bunch of films that were super serialized to an extent was pretty cool. But like, even the shows are not super interwoven into the films, because you only have one or two characters from the films in the show. Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, some more than others. Like, Falcon and Winter Soldier is pretty closely tied to like the Captain America franchise, but some of the other ones less so. Moon Knight is completely independent, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then the newest series, the Agatha series, like, that's all series-based characters. I don't think there's any film characters in that series. I haven't finished it yet, but I don't think there's any series-based like film-based characters in it.
It's good. I love the show, but I think
I don't
think there's any film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first 2 or 3 episodes. I just haven't had time to go back and watch the rest of it. But yeah, I think honestly, if you're going to do the books justice, series is the way to go. I know it's still a couple years away, but I'm really looking forward to what HBO does with Harry Potter. I think it's going to be really cool.
Oh, really?
To be able to like spread that out and kind of make it a whole thing.
I can see how spreading it out would be better. For me, I'm just like, I feel like it's too early to retread this again.
I get it. It is like in the back of your heart, it's kind of like a cash grab, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to see what they do, right? So like, if the first season comes out and I'm like, okay, they totally screwed it up, then I'm probably not gonna keep watching it. But like, if they do a great job, I'm not gonna mind that. Like, we just got the last film like 12 years ago.
Okay. What about you, Jamie? Have y'all talked about the new Harry Potter thing? I know y'all are also fans.
Yeah, but honestly, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it.
Sure.
I'll probably watch it.
I mean, it's not slotted to come out until 2026, so it's going to be a little while. But
yeah, so I think there's plenty in the movies it's plenty in the books that didn't make it into the movies, and so it would be good to to have such more detail in there. Would be cool. But yeah, like I'll probably watch it. It's also one of those things that you're like, it is like those movies. We grew up with those movies, and so they're always going to have a bit of a special place. So I hope we don't go into it feeling a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's always like in the back of like a fan's mind, though, right? Like kids that are like 10 or 11, or even in their up into their early 20s, like the Star Wars they grew up with was the like Clone Wars cartoon show. So it's like everybody got a kind of a different piece of that like fandom.
Yeah, our oldest kid watched like when he was young, like the newer Ninja Turtles cartoons, and then his mom showed him like the classic, the original that I grew up with, and he's like, what's wrong with this show? This isn't the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, no, this is the Ninja Turtles. You are wrong. It's the children who are wrong.
The children are not the future.
The one positive thought I have about the new Harry Potter that we were talking about was it'd be nice. I don't even care that much about the main story that we've already seen and read, but I was like, if we get the chance to expand on some side characters, if they get good actors playing side characters, and we can expand on, and maybe even more than the books, like let Cho get some character to her, let Seamus and stuff get a little more.
Wow. And there's a lot of characters that never made it to the films. Charlie Weasley never made it to the films. Ludo Bagman never made it to the films. Peeves never made it to the films. Like, there's just a lot of characters that didn't make it.
So yeah, there's some potential there that I'll check it out at least. Hadar mentions maybe doing animation instead of live action, and that's the eternal argument, especially on Reddit within the fandom, is especially Stormlight. People are like, you can't do Stormlight live action. How are you going to do giant crab monsters and stuff? Like, people are like, this is just giant swords and armor and monsters. This is screaming for animation, maybe an anime style thing. And some people feel very strongly that way. And some people are like, no way, you can't do that. It's got to be live action. So I don't know. What do you guys, Stormlight in particular, what do you guys think would work?
I don't see any reason you couldn't do it live action with like the technology that we have today. Like I understand that like thought of like, no, it just can't be done because of how kind of crazy and fantastic it is. But I mean, if you've got a big enough budget behind it, because I don't know what the budget behind Game of Thrones was. I'm not that inside of Game of Thrones. Like, I don't know what they were spending on each episode, but I feel like if you've got the budget for it, you could do it.
I mean, yeah, if you can get that budget. That's the thing. I'm not sure that any of the like high fantasy things that they've done the last few years, like Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, I'm not sure any of them have done that well. Even the new Game of Thrones series, I don't know, is doing well enough that people are out there like, yeah, we need to make more series about like really high concept fantasy stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I really enjoy the Lord of the Rings show. I haven't finished all of what's out yet, but I like it a lot. But I can understand that.
What about you, Jamie? Any opinion on how they should do it?
Oh, no, I mean, I just don't think I've really considered it that much before, but, I think any medium would be all right. Just kind of got to stay true to the story. And, yeah, I mean, you do have, I guess, a lot more flexibility with something that's animated, but I still would love to see it, like, done live action. That would be cool.
I think I can agree with you that the more important thing is, regardless of what is doing the story justice, regardless of what way you get there. Although what bothers me is there's still some people out there who, no matter how long goes by, no matter how many amazing adult animation things are made, there's some people who just always have the opinion that it's like, oh, cartoons, no, that's for kids, you can't do that. Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't watch cartoons.
I feel like adult animation has been a pretty established thing since at least like the 19. Well, I don't even know why I'm limiting it to that. I mean, adults would watch like Bugs Bunny cartoons before films and stuff all the time back in the day. So I feel like that's not a good opinion.
That I agree with, and it's one of the things that I would think by now with like The Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, Rick and Morty, like I would think that people would understand that we are past that, and yet I still see that opinion all the time, and it just bothers me. I'm like, really? And so some people just have this terrified thing that other people will perceive them as childish. I can't do something that a kid would do because then people will think I'm, I think it's insecurity more than anything, but who knows?
Sure. I mean, some people would argue that reading a fantasy book is childish, but I don't think I definitely don't think that's true.
Even people in the fantasy reading communities, some of them feel the same way about like young adult stuff. They're like, oh, I wouldn't read a young adult book. I'm much too mature for that. And some people, in particular, we're talking about Brandon's work, some people at times some bookstores have classified the Mistborn trilogy, the first trilogy, as young adult. And so I've seen people be like, oh, I wouldn't read that. That's a young adult book. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, I just don't think, I think I've said this, is like not everything is for everybody, but I think if you actually sit down and read a book, you can kind of tell once you get into a little bit, like what level of audience it was meant for. Because there are some young adult books where you read them and you're like, okay, this was not meant for adult consumption because of the level of writing involved here and the level of storytelling and like the word usage. Like you can tell, like, okay, this was targeted by how it is written towards. So I get that side, but to classify the whole genre and say like, no, if it's in that genre, it's not worth reading, like that, I definitely don't agree with. But at the same time, like as an adult, I went back and read Chronicles of Narnia, which are kids' books. And are they very simple? Yes. But are they good stories? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's just like, even when it's clearly aimed, like Percy Jackson books are aimed at like a kind of teenage audience. And you can tell from the way the story is formatted, the words that are being used, but I still enjoy them. Even as an adult, I don't think I read them until I was an adult, honestly. And even the first time I was like, oh, this is fun. But yeah, let's do one more quick email before we wrap up here. This is from Victoria, and the title is My Insomnia and the Sexy Drifter. Hello from your past. I found your podcast recently and have really been enjoying it. I just finished your Elantris section and am excited to hear what y'all think about the Emperor's Soul. I thought that you would be amused by a recent addition to my insomnia playbook. To help with my anxiety when I can't sleep, I make lists in my head. My most common list is characters from the Cosmere. Hoyd tends to come fairly early in the list, and I have now added Sexy Drifter to his list of aliases, so thank you for that. Seems like y'all are well into Words of Radiance now, so I'll catch up to you eventually. I hope you enjoy your Cosmere journey, from Victoria. So that's funny.
I love that the Sexy Drifter is caught on. That's awesome.
Yeah. Didn't even know who he was, just said this guy's a sexy drifter.
That's true. You didn't know when you named him.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was the same guy from the other part of the book that we read.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go. It's made its way into the world a little bit. That's cool. I've been there where you need to find something to think about to help you fall asleep. So I get it. I've never tried lists, but that's an interesting one. All right. Well, if anyone would like to send us an email like those folks did, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and I almost said Reddit, Facebook. I'm on Reddit, but Twitter, X, whatever you call it, and Patreon, where I've been posting my reads of the Wind and Truth preview chapters. Someone pointed out to me today when I posted a new episode that was supposed to go up yesterday, but it ended up running long. My editing of it ran long, so it went up today. Someone's like, it looks like you skipped the interlude chapters that were in between day 1 and day 2. And I was like, holy crap, I did. So I kind of missed some, and it's funny because that was like 3 or 4 episodes ago that I should have done those and apparently completely missed them. But had to go back and read those then. If you're interested in hearing my ramblings as I'm reading Wind and Truth preview chapters for the first time, check out the Patreon. Also, next week while we're gone, I have, since I would not be here to record anything, I've set to post up an interesting little bit, a piece of weird stuff that I won't spoil for anybody, but it's a silly audio thing, and I don't know that anyone will enjoy it, but I hope you are amused by it. For our patrons out there. It'll actually, I guess, come out before this episode is out, just now that I think about it, because of how our records work. But anyways, so that's what's on our Patreon. Feel free to check that out if you want. Remember, we for those of you reading along, we're doing 5 whole chapters for next time. A couple of them are pretty short. This is data from the future. I realized at this point in the edit that I did not make it entirely clear at any point during the episode. There will not be a new episode next week. I'm going to be on vacation in the ocean, so we will be unable to record an episode for next week. Should be back the week after that. I kind of hinted at it here, but didn't actually remember to say it. So there you go. So 62 through 66, if you're following along, is what to read for next time. So read those chapters. That's what we're going to read anyway. Thank you, everyone. All our patrons, you're awesome. Our emailers, inspiring conversations that we went way off of what Hadar was talking about, plumbed new depths of randomness in a way. But that's one of the great things about the emails. You never know where they're going to lead us. So thank you guys. And thank you to everyone who just shows up every week and listens to the show. We appreciate you. Music by Miracle of Sound. And wasing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy.
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.